The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber opened with a low hum. Ambassador Daniel Carter walked through them, his black suit standing out against the colorful robes and armor of the alien delegates. Behind him walked Captain Lisa Monroe in her crisp military uniform. She held her head high even though she knew what was coming. The chamber was huge, bigger than any building Daniel had ever seen on Earth. Thousands of aliens filled the seats, their voices creating a noise that sounded like ocean waves. Some had scales, some had fur, and some looked like nothing Daniel had ever imagined. They all turned to watch the humans enter. Daniel had been preparing for this moment for 3 months. Earth finally got permission to speak before the council. It had taken 5 years of requests, 5 years of being ignored. Now humanity would ask for help protecting their trade ships from pirates. It seemed like a simple request. The whispering started almost immediately. Daniel heard the translation devices converting alien languages into English in his ear. The words were not kind. "Look at how small they are," someone said. "Did they really travel here in that tiny ship?" Another voice asked. "I heard their warship is smaller than my personal yacht." A third voice added, followed by clicking sounds that Daniel's translator identified as laughter. Captain Lisa Monroe walked beside Daniel without showing any emotion on her face. She commanded the USS Defiant, which was currently in orbit above the Council world. The ship was her pride, built with the best technology Earth could create. It was 200 meters long, which seemed big to humans, but compared to the alien warships, some of which stretched 5 kilometers or more, the Defiant looked like a toy. They reached the speaking platform at the center of the chamber. Daniel stepped up to the microphone while Lisa stood at attention beside him. Above them, in a seat that seemed carved from crystal, sat Ambassador Xylox of the Krenathi Empire. His 4 eyes looked down at the humans with obvious amusement. "Are these the humans?" Xylox asked loudly, making sure everyone could hear. "Are we certain they brought a warship? Perhaps they simply attached some weapons to a cargo container and called it military." Laughter filled the chamber. The sound echoed off the walls, making it seem even louder. Daniel felt his face getting hot, but he kept his expression calm. Getting angry would only make things worse. "Honorable delegates," Daniel began, his voice steady. "Humanity comes before this council with a request. Our merchant ships travel through the Outer Rim territories to trade with the independent colonies. These routes are not protected by council patrols. For the past year, our ships have been attacked repeatedly by the Vrath Syndicate. We have lost 17 vessels and over 200 crew members. We ask the council to extend protection to these trade routes." High Chancellor Vorn of the Dreknari Coalition leaned forward in his seat. He was a massive reptilian creature with scales that looked like armor. His teeth were visible even when his mouth was closed. "Protection?" he said, his voice deep and rumbling. "You ask us to protect your ships because your own military cannot do so?" "Our military is small," Daniel admitted. "We have only recently developed faster-than-light travel. We are still building our fleet. The Vrath Syndicate operates in large groups, sometimes 20 or 30 ships at a time. We need assistance until we can build enough ships to protect ourselves." "Then perhaps you should build faster," Vorn said. Several aliens made sounds of agreement. The Council cannot spare resources to protect every species that ventures into dangerous space without adequate preparation. The Vrath are a problem, yes, but they are a manageable problem for those with proper military strength. Ambassador Xylox spoke again, his 4 eyes gleaming. "Tell me, Ambassador Carter, how many warships does Earth possess?" Daniel knew this question would come. "We have 1 fully operational warship, the USS Defiant. 3 more are under construction and will be completed within 2 years. The chamber erupted with noise. Aliens spoke to each other in dozens of languages, their words mixing together into chaos. Some were laughing, others sounded surprised, and a few seemed almost pitying. "1 ship," Xylox exclaimed. "You ask the Council for protection because you have 1 single warship? The Krenathi Empire has over 5,000 capital ships. Even the smallest Council member states have fleets numbering in the hundreds. And you come here with 1 ship and expect to be taken seriously?" Lisa Monroe's jaw tightened, but she remained silent. Daniel had told her before the meeting that she should not speak unless directly asked a question. He knew she wanted to defend her ship, to explain what made it special, but this was not the time. "We understand our fleet is small," Daniel said. "That is precisely why we seek the Council's assistance. Earth is willing to pay for patrol coverage, or to contribute resources in other ways. We simply need time to build our strength. High Chancellor Vorn waved one clawed hand dismissively. The Council will consider your request. However, I must be honest with you, Ambassador. The Outer Rim territories are far from Council space. Extending patrols there would require significant resources. The Council must weigh whether protecting human trade ships justifies such an expense. What he really meant was clear to everyone in the chamber. Earth was not important enough. Humanity was too new, too weak, too small to matter. The Council had been exploring space for thousands of years. Earth had barely managed to leave its own solar system 15 years ago. Why should the ancient, powerful civilizations care about protecting human ships? Daniel bowed slightly. We understand, High Chancellor. We await the Council's decision. I would not hold my breath if I were you, Vorn said. The Vrath do not discriminate in their choice of prey. They attack based on perceived threat level. Your ships present no threat, so they are easy targets. Perhaps this will teach your species to develop adequate military strength before venturing into deep space. More laughter followed. Daniel forced himself to bow again before turning to leave. Lisa followed him, her boots clicking on the polished floor. As they walked back toward the exit, Daniel heard the conversations continuing behind them. The aliens had already moved on to other topics. Humanity's request was forgotten as soon as they left the platform. Outside the chamber, Lisa finally spoke. They have no idea, she said quietly, her voice tight with controlled anger. They think the Defiant is weak because it's small. They judge everything by size. I know, Daniel said, but getting angry won't help. We knew this would happen. Did we also know they would laugh at us? That they would treat us like children playing with toys? Daniel stopped walking and turned to face her. Yes, Lisa. We knew exactly how they would react. Earth is new to them. We have no reputation, no history. We're the newcomers trying to sit at a table where everyone else has been sitting for millennia. Of course they don't take us seriously. Lisa took a deep breath, forcing herself to calm down. I'm sorry, Ambassador. You're right. I just wish we could show them what the Defiant can actually do. Maybe someday you will, Daniel said, but not today. Today we smile, we thank them for their time, and we go home. Earth will have to solve its own problems. They continued walking toward the docking bay where their shuttle waited. Behind them, in the council chamber, thousands of aliens continued their discussions. None of them gave any more thought to the humans and their tiny warship. If they had known what would happen in just 48 hours, they might have paid more attention. They might have asked questions about the Defiant's capabilities. They might have wondered why such a small ship would need reactors powerful enough to light up sensor displays from orbit. But they did not ask these questions. They simply laughed and moved on. High above the council world, the USS Defiant hung in space, waiting for its crew to return. The ship was small by galactic standards, barely visible against the massive alien vessels nearby. But inside that small hull, humanity had built something the galaxy had not seen before, something that would change everything. The aliens would learn. Very soon they would learn that size did not always matter. That new did not mean weak. That humanity had not come to the stars unprepared. The Vrath Syndicate would be the first to discover this truth, and the lesson would be written in fire and wreckage across the darkness of space. The bridge of the USS Defiant hummed with quiet activity. Captain Lisa Monroe sat in her command chair, watching the screens that showed the space around them. 7 human cargo ships traveled ahead of the Defiant, carrying food, medicine, and manufacturing equipment to the colonies in the Outer Rim. It was their 3rd convoy escort mission this month. Captain, I have something on the long-range sensors, said Lieutenant Sarah Brooks from her station. Sarah was young, only 26, but she was the best sensor operator Lisa had ever worked with. Multiple contacts, approximately 40 million kilometers away. Their energy signatures match Vrath Raider vessels. Lisa felt her stomach tighten. How many? Still counting. So far I see 16 distinct signatures, maybe more hiding in the nebula radiation. Navigation Officer Kevin Barnes looked up from his controls. The nebula creates a lot of interference. There could be twice that many, and we would not see them until they got closer. Lisa stood and walked to the tactical display in the center of the bridge. The holographic screen showed their convoy as blue dots and the approaching Vrath ships as red dots. The red dots were moving fast, positioning themselves to intercept the convoy before the cargo ships could charge their faster-than-light drives. How long until they reach us? Lisa asked. 12 minutes at their current speed, Sarah answered. 12 minutes. Not much time. Lisa opened the communication channel to the cargo ships. All convoy vessels, this is USS Defiant. We have hostile contacts approaching. Begin emergency scatter protocol immediately. Charge your faster-than-light drives and jump to the backup coordinates as soon as you are ready." A woman's voice came through the speaker. Commander Patricia Lewis commanded the lead cargo ship, Horizon's Hope. "Captain Monroe, we cannot leave you alone against 16 raiders. That is suicide. Your ships have no weapons, Patricia. You will only get in the way. My job is to protect you, and I cannot do that if you stay here. Follow the protocol. That is an order." There was silence for a moment, then Patricia responded. "Understood, Captain. Good luck." The cargo ships began to move apart from each other, spreading out so the Wrath could not target all of them at once. Their drives started building power for the jump to faster-than-light speed. It would take 8 minutes, maybe 9. The Defiant needed to buy them that time. "Lieutenant Commander Alex Hayes, status on the main weapon?" Lisa asked. Alex sat at the weapons control station. He had been working on the Defiant since it was just metal frames in the construction yard. He knew every system on the ship better than anyone. "Main weapon charging now, Captain. We are diverting all extra power to the acceleration system. Full charge in 3 minutes. Battle stations, all crew," Lisa announced through the ship's internal communication. Throughout the Defiant, 140 crew members moved to their positions. In the engineering section, Chief Engineer Nicole Parker watched her displays carefully, making sure the reactors provided steady power to the weapon system. The Wrath ships came into visual range. They were ugly vessels, all sharp angles and dark metal. Each one was about 400 meters long, twice the size of the Defiant. They had plasma cannons mounted along their hulls and torpedo tubes at their bow. The Wrath Syndicate had been raiding merchant ships in this region for 20 years. They were good at what they did. "They are spreading into attack formation," Sarah reported. "Looks like they want to surround us." "Let them think they can," Lisa said calmly. "Kevin, start evasive maneuvers. Make it look like we are scared. Sarah, return fire with our point defense guns. Use the smallest weapons we have." The Defiant began moving in sharp turns, dodging left and right like a frightened animal. The small point defense turrets on the hull fired streams of metal bullets at the approaching raiders. The bullets hit the Wrath shields and bounced off harmlessly. To the raiders, it must have looked like the human ship was trying desperately to fight back with weapons that were completely useless. A message came through on the communication channel. The voice spoke in a language Lisa did not know, but the translation computer converted it to English. "Human vessel, you are surrounded and outmatched. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. We will take your cargo and let your crew live. Resist and we will destroy you and take the cargo from your wreckage." Lisa muted the channel without responding. "Alex, status?" "Main weapon at 70% charge. We need another 90 seconds. On the display screen, the cargo ships were still charging their drives. 6 minutes until they could jump. The Defiant needed to hold out for 6 more minutes. But the Wrath were getting closer, tightening their circle. Soon they would be close enough to fire with full accuracy. The first plasma bolts flashed across space. Bright blue energy beams that could melt through metal hit the space where the Defiant had been a second earlier. Kevin was doing excellent work at the navigation controls, moving the ship in patterns that were hard to predict. But there were 16 Wrath ships firing, and eventually one of their shots would connect. "They are not trying very hard," Sarah observed. "I think they want to capture us intact. They are aiming for our engines, trying to disable us rather than destroy us." "Good," Lisa said. "The longer they play careful, the longer we stay alive." Another Wrath message came through. "Your defensive weapons cannot harm us, human. Our shields are too strong for such primitive technology. Surrender now or we will stop being gentle." Lisa smiled coldly. Primitive technology? They sounded just like the council delegates, so certain that bigger and more advanced meant better. They had no idea what was coming. "Main weapon at 90%, Alex announced. "Targeting solution locked on the lead group. 4 ships are flying in close formation. If we fire now, the projectile should pass through all 4 of them." "Wait," Lisa ordered. "Let them get closer. I want them to see what hits them." The cargo ships continued charging their drives. 4 minutes until jump. The Wrath continued firing, their plasma bolts getting closer with each volley. One shot grazed the Defiant's hull, scorching the armor but not penetrating. Alarm sounded briefly before the damage control teams reported it was minor. "They are getting frustrated," Sarah said. 3 ships are breaking formation and moving to attack positions. "I think they are done playing careful." "Main weapon at full charge," Alex reported. Ready to fire on your command, Captain. Cargo ship's status? Lisa asked. Patricia's voice came back. 3 minutes until jump. We are going as fast as we can. 3 minutes. The Defiant could buy them 3 minutes easily. Lisa watched the tactical display, seeing the 4 Wrath ships clustered together almost perfectly. They had positioned themselves to deliver a coordinated strike on the Defiant's engines. They thought the battle was already won. Fire, Lisa commanded. Deep inside the Defiant, systems that had taken Earth's scientists 10 years to develop, activated in a carefully controlled sequence. Magnetic coils that ran along half the ship's length powered up. A tungsten projectile shaped like a long spike and weighing 500 kilograms sat in the launch chamber. In less than 1/10 of a second, the magnetic accelerators threw the projectile forward with unimaginable force. The spike left the Defiant's bow traveling at 30% of the speed of light. By the lead Wrath Raider simply stopped existing. The projectile hit its forward shield and passed through as if the shield was made of paper. It continued through the ship's armor, through the interior compartments, through the crew, through the engines, through everything. The entire vessel exploded into vapor and debris in a fraction of a second, but the projectile did not stop. It continued forward, barely slowed down, and hit the second raider. This ship broke into pieces, torn apart by forces its designers never imagined it would face. The pieces tumbled away, trailing atmosphere and fire. The third raider tried to turn, its pilot finally realizing something terrible was happening. Too late. The projectile clipped its rear section, and the impact was enough to send the entire ship spinning out of control. Its hull could not handle the stress. It broke apart like a toy crushed in a giant's hand. The fourth raider was the luckiest, if luck meant dying slightly less instantly. The projectile passed 50 meters from its hull, but the shockwave from its passage through space hit the raider's shields like a hammer. The shields collapsed, overloaded beyond their capacity. Without shields, the explosions from the nearby raiders tore the fourth ship into scrap metal. Total time elapsed 2.3 seconds. 4 Wrath raiders destroyed. The bridge of the Defiant was silent for a moment. Then Sarah spoke, her voice carrying a note of awe. Direct hit confirmed. 4 enemy vessels destroyed. The remaining 12 raiders are breaking formation. On the communication channel, there was chaos. The Wrath commanders were shouting at each other in their own language, trying to understand what had just killed 4 of their ships. The translation computer struggled to keep up with their panicked voices. What was that? Where did it come from? Did anyone see a missile launch? There was no energy signature. How is that possible? Lisa opened the channel to the Wrath. This is Captain Lisa Monroe of the USS Defiant. You called my weapons primitive. You said my ship was no threat. Would you like to reconsider those statements? There was silence on the channel for several seconds. The Galactic Council chamber was completely silent. Not a single voice spoke. Not a single translator hummed. Every delegate in the massive room watched the holographic display that floated above the center platform. The display showed the USS Defiant firing its weapon. It showed 4 Wrath raiders disappearing in flashes of light and debris. The entire sequence played out in just over 2 seconds. Ambassador Daniel Carter stood at the speaking platform waiting. He had learned that silence could be more powerful than words. Let them watch. Let them understand what they had dismissed so casually just 3 days earlier. The recording ended. The holographic display froze on an image of the expanding debris field. Still, nobody spoke. Daniel could see the shock on their faces, the disbelief in their eyes. These were beings from civilizations thousands of years old, who had fought wars across the galaxy, who thought they had seen every kind of weapon imaginable. They had never seen anything like this. Finally, High Chancellor Vorn found his voice. Ambassador Carter, the Council has reviewed the combat data you submitted. We have questions. I expected you would, Daniel replied calmly. Ambassador Xylox of the Krenathi Empire leaned forward, his 4 eyes fixed on the frozen image. Our scientific teams have analyzed the recording frame by frame. They detected no energy weapon discharge, no missile launch, no plasma buildup. The Wrath ship simply exploded. Can you explain what weapon was used? Daniel had prepared for this moment. He had specific instructions from Earth's military command about what information he could share and what must remain classified. The weapon is called a kinetic impactor. It fires a solid projectile at extremely high velocity. The technical specifications are classified, but I can tell you it travels at approximately 30% of light speed. The chamber erupted into noise. Dozens of species began talking at once, their voices mixing into chaos. Daniel waited patiently for order to be restored. "Kinetic weapons are ancient technology," said Commander Lisa Hayes of the Draknari military, a different person from the human Alex Hayes. "We abandoned such systems thousands of years ago. They are inefficient, inaccurate, and have limited range compared to energy weapons." "Clearly, your understanding of kinetic weapons is outdated," Daniel responded. "As the recording demonstrates, our weapon is quite effective." Ambassador Zylock spoke again. "The power requirements to accelerate a physical object to such velocity must be enormous. Your ship's reactors cannot possibly generate that much energy." "The Defiance reactors generate sufficient power," Daniel said simply. He did not elaborate. Let them wonder how humanity had solved the energy problem. Let them run calculations and try to figure it out. High Chancellor Vorn's expression was difficult to read. His reptilian features showed something between anger and grudging respect. Captain Monroe destroyed 4 vessels with a single shot. She then secured the surrender of 12 more without firing again. This is an impressive achievement. However, we have concerns. "What concerns?" Daniel asked. 4 of the surrendered raiders attempted to restart their engines. Your Captain Monroe destroyed all 4 vessels. The Council questions whether this was necessary. Disabled ships attempting to flee are not typically destroyed. Daniel had expected this criticism too. "High Chancellor, those 4 vessels formally surrendered, then violated their surrender by attempting to power up their drive systems. By every standard of military law, including the Council's own conventions, they forfeited all protections. Captain Monroe gave them 30 seconds warning before firing. They chose to ignore that warning. Yet she fired 4 separate times," Vorn pressed. 4 individual shots to destroy 4 vessels. This seems excessive." "Actually, it demonstrates restraint," Daniel countered. "The Defiant could have fired once and destroyed all 4 vessels simultaneously, just as the first shot destroyed the initial 4 raiders. Instead, Captain Monroe used precisely calibrated shots to disable each vessel individually, minimizing the loss of life. She then provided medical assistance to the survivors. If she wanted to make a statement through excessive force, she would have vaporized all 4 ships at once." This caused another wave of murmuring through the chamber. The delegates were beginning to understand the implications. The human weapon was not just powerful, it was precise. A single shot could destroy multiple vessels, or it could be adjusted to disable a single target. That kind of control was terrifying. Ambassador Thyron of the Makal Unity stood up. The Makal were known as master diplomats, always thinking several moves ahead. "Ambassador Carter, let us be direct. Your species has demonstrated a weapons technology that the Council has never encountered in this form. News of this engagement has already spread throughout Council space. 6 major merchant consortiums have requested human escorts for their convoys. The Vrath Syndicate has issued threats against Earth, though they have withdrawn completely from the Outer Rim. And no fewer than 8 Council member states have approached my office asking about the possibility of acquiring this technology. Earth has no intention of sharing our weapons technology," Daniel said firmly. "We consider it a strategic asset." "Of course you do," Thyron replied. "But you must understand the position this puts the Council in. For thousands of years, military power in this galaxy has been based on energy weapons and defensive shields. Fleets are built around these technologies. Tactics are developed around their strengths and weaknesses. Now humanity arrives with a weapon that ignores shields entirely and destroys multiple vessels with a single shot. This changes everything." "Change is not always bad," Daniel said. "Perhaps not," Thyron agreed, "but it creates uncertainty. And uncertainty creates fear. Some species will want to ally with humanity to gain access to this technology. Others will view you as a threat that must be eliminated before you grow stronger. The galaxy you entered as insignificant newcomers is now very different. Earth is a player in power games that have destroyed entire civilizations." Daniel nodded slowly. This was the real conversation, the one beneath all the technical questions. The Council was trying to decide how to handle humanity. Were humans potential allies or potential enemies? Should they be embraced or contained? "The Council is correct that Earth's position has changed," Daniel acknowledged. "But our goals have not. We want to trade peacefully. We want to protect our people. We want to be left alone to develop at our own pace. If the Council offers fair terms for protected trade routes, we will accept them. If not, we will continue to protect our ships ourselves. High Chancellor Vorn stood, his massive frame dominating the chamber. The Council will vote on humanity's petition for protected status. Given recent events, I believe the vote will be favorable. However, Ambassador Carter, I must give you a warning. Your Captain Monroe has shown the galaxy something it has not seen in many centuries. A genuinely new form of warfare. This will generate responses. Some species will approach you with friendship, hoping to learn your secrets or form alliances. Others will see you as dangerous and will work to undermine you or even attack you. We understand the risks, Daniel said. I wonder if you truly do, Vorn replied. The Council has maintained peace among its members for over 1,000 years. That peace is based on a careful balance of power. When one species gains a significant military advantage, that balance becomes unstable. Wars start. Alliances shift. Civilizations fall. Are you suggesting that humanity's weapon threatens galactic peace? Daniel asked carefully. I am suggesting that the galaxy is watching to see what humanity does next, Vorn said. If you use your advantage wisely, you may find yourselves with many allies. If you use it recklessly, you will find yourselves surrounded by enemies. Choose carefully. The session ended shortly after. As Daniel walked out of the chamber, he was approached by Ambassador Xylox. The Krenathi ambassador's expression was thoughtful. Ambassador Carter, a moment of your time? Of course, Daniel replied. The Krenathi Empire made a mistake when we mocked your warship. We judged by size and appearance rather than capability. I will not make that mistake again. Xylox paused, then continued. My government would be interested in discussing mutual defense arrangements. Your kinetic weapons combined with our shield technology could prove very effective together. Earth prefers to rely on not getting hit rather than absorbing damage, Daniel said diplomatically. But we are always open to discussions with potential allies. A wise answer, Xylox said. One that commits to nothing but leaves doors open. You will do well in council politics, Ambassador. Daniel returned to the human embassy compound, where Captain Monroe was waiting via video link from the Defiant in orbit. How did it go? She asked, about as expected. They are shocked, frightened, and trying to figure out how to respond. The council will approve our petition, but mostly because they are too scared to say no. Lisa smiled slightly. Is that a bad thing? It is complicated, Daniel said. Fear can motivate cooperation, but it can also motivate aggression. We need to be very careful over the next few months. Some species will want to test us to see if the Vrath incident was luck or skill. It was not luck, Lisa said flatly. I know, but they do not know that yet. They will send ships to probe our defenses, to study our tactics, to find weaknesses. We need to be ready. 3 days later, 6 months passed since the battle in the Outer Rim Nebula. The galaxy had changed in ways both obvious and subtle. Captain Lisa Monroe stood on the bridge of the USS Defiant, watching 3 new human warships practice battle formations in the asteroid belt beyond Mars. Each of the new ships was larger than the Defiant, with improved weapon systems and better engines. Earth's shipyards worked at full capacity, building the fleet that would protect humanity's interests across the stars. Captain, incoming priority message from Earth Command, announced Lieutenant Commander Greg Foster. He had transferred to the Defiant 2 months ago, replacing Kevin Barnes, who now commanded one of the new ships. Put it through, Lisa said. Admiral Helen Price appeared on the main screen. She was 60 years old with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had commanded Earth's space forces for 15 years, guiding humanity through first contact and the challenging early years of galactic politics. Captain Monroe, I have new orders for you. The Galactic Council has formally requested human assistance with a military situation in the Beta Quadrant. A species called the Korthax Union has been conquering systems along the galactic periphery. They are using overwhelming numbers to defeat Council forces. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. How many ships are we talking about? Intelligence reports suggest the Korthax fleet in the target system numbers around 200 vessels. The Council is committing 5 battle groups, approximately 300 ships total. They want the Defiant there as additional firepower. 300 Council ships against 200 Korthax ships should be an easy victory, Lisa observed. Why do they need us? Admiral Price smiled grimly. Because the Korthax build ships faster than the Council can destroy them. Energy weapons take time to wear down shields and armor. The Council wins battles, but the Korthax replace their losses within weeks. They need a weapon that can destroy ships quickly and efficiently. They need kinetic weapons, Lisa finished. When do we leave? Immediately. The Liberty will accompany you. Commander Jake Morrison has completed his shakedown cruise and his crew is ready for combat operations. Lisa nodded. The Liberty was one of the new ships, mounting twin kinetic cannons that could fire with overlapping fields of coverage. Jake Morrison had served under Lisa during the Wrath incident, commanding one of the cargo ships. He had since transferred to military service and proven himself a capable officer. Understood, Admiral. We will depart within the hour. Good luck, Captain. The Council is watching this operation very closely. They want to see how effective our weapons are in a major fleet engagement. This is our chance to prove that humanity deserves a seat at the big table. The communication ended. Lisa turned to her crew. You heard the Admiral. Plot a course for the Beta Quadrant. Maximum faster than light speed. Alex, start running combat simulations. I want targeting solutions for multiple ship formations. Sarah, pull all available intelligence on Korthax vessels and tactics. The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency. After 6 months of patrol duty and minor engagements with pirates, they were ready for a real battle. The Defiant had proven itself against 16 Wrath raiders. Now it would face an enemy fleet 10 times larger. The journey to the Beta Quadrant took 4 days. During that time, Lisa and Commander Morrison held daily strategy sessions via video link. They studied the intelligence reports on Korthax tactics, looking for weaknesses to exploit. The Korthax were a hive mind species, which meant all their ships acted with perfect coordination. They used swarm tactics, overwhelming enemy vessels with concentrated fire from dozens of ships at once. Their individual ships were not heavily armored, relying instead on shields and point defense systems. Most importantly, they preferred to fight in tight formations, maximizing their ability to support each other. Tight formations, Jake said during one strategy session. That is exactly what we want them to do. Agreed, Lisa replied. Our weapons are most effective against clustered targets. One shot through a dense formation could destroy 10 or 15 ships. The Council forces use different tactics, Jake pointed out. They spread out to avoid concentrated fire and rely on long-range energy weapons. If the Korthax are fighting the Council, they might not be in their preferred formations. Then we need to make them cluster together, Lisa said thoughtfully. Give them a target they want to destroy badly enough that they forget about maintaining spread-out positions. You want to use the Defiant as bait? That is exactly what I want to do. When the Defiant and Liberty arrived at the Sarconi system, the battle was already in progress. 300 Galactic Council vessels faced approximately 230 Korthax ships across a vast area of space. Energy weapon beams crisscrossed the darkness. Plasma bolts exploded against shields, and missiles traced burning paths between the fleets. Captain, we are being hailed by the Council flagship, Sarah reported. Put them through. Admiral Corvin appeared on screen. He was a Draknari like High Chancellor Vorn, but older and more scarred. His reputation was legendary in Council military circles. He had commanded fleets for 40 years and fought in more battles than most species had in their entire history. Captain Monroe, I reviewed the combat data from your engagement with the Wrath Raiders. Impressive work. However, this situation is different. The Korthax use adaptive tactics and coordinated swarm attacks. Your single ship, while powerful, cannot change the outcome of a fleet battle this large. Lisa kept her expression neutral. Admiral, with respect, I disagree. The Liberty and I request permission to operate independently. Give us 20 minutes and watch what happens. Corvin's scarred face showed doubt. Captain, there are over 200 enemy vessels. Your weapons are powerful, but they cannot possibly destroy that many ships. Watch and learn, Admiral, Lisa said. I recommend your forces pull back to safe distance. There will be significant debris fields. For a long moment, Corvin said nothing. Then he made a rumbling sound that might have been laughter. You have impressive confidence, Captain, very well. Council forces will withdraw to standoff range. You have 15 minutes to demonstrate results. If you cannot achieve significant impact, my ships will re-engage using standard tactics. Fair enough, Lisa agreed. Monroe out. She opened a channel to the Liberty. Jake, you see the 3 cluster formations on the left flank? Those are yours. Stagger your shots 10 seconds apart. I will take the concentrated mass in the center. Coordinate on my mark. Ready when you are, Jake replied. Lisa studied the tactical display. The Korthax fleet showed as a cloud of red dots, with several areas where ships clustered together in groups of 20 or 30. They had learned to fight Council forces effectively, using their coordinated attacks to overwhelm individual vessels, but they had never fought an enemy that could destroy multiple ships with a single shot. All power to the main weapon, Lisa commanded. Target the densest concentration in the center. Alex, I want maximum penetration. Plot a trajectory that passes through as many ships as possible. Alex worked his controls with absolute focus. Targeting solution calculated, Captain. If they maintain current formation, the projectile will pass through approximately 70 ships before exiting the combat zone. 70 ships. Lisa took a deep breath. Begin charging sequence. Throughout the Defiant, systems powered up. The fusion reactors redirected their entire output to the magnetic accelerators. In engineering, Nicole Parker monitored every reading, ensuring the weapon would fire perfectly. One mistake, one miscalculation, and the magnetic coils could overload, destroying the ship. 90% charge, Alex reported. 95. 100%. Weapon ready, Captain. Lisa watched the tactical display. The Korthax ships maintained their formation, unaware of what was about to happen. The Council forces had pulled back as requested, creating a safe buffer zone. Everything was perfect. Fire. The tungsten projectile left the Defiant at 35% of light speed. It crossed the distance to the Korthax formation in a fraction of a second. The first ship exploded instantly. The second ship broke apart. The third ship vaporized. The projectile continued, punching through vessel after vessel, each impact generating cascading destruction. Ships exploded, and their explosions damaged nearby vessels, creating chain reactions that spread through the tight formation like fire through dry grass. 10 seconds after the Defiant fired, the Liberty fired its first shot. Then its second shot 10 seconds later. Then its third shot. The Korthax hive mind tried to process what was happening. They were losing ships faster than they could register the threat. 50 vessels destroyed in the first 30 seconds, 100 vessels gone in 60 seconds. Their perfect coordination became chaos as they tried to scatter in all directions at once. Continue firing, Lisa ordered. Target any cluster of more than 5 ships. Ignore lone vessels. For 8 minutes, the Defiant and Liberty methodically destroyed Korthax formations. Every time a group of ships tried to regroup, a kinetic round tore through them. The Korthax could not adapt because there was no adaptation possible. Their shields were useless. Their armor was meaningless. Their point defense systems could not track projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. When both human ships needed to pause for extended recharge cycles. 1 year after the battle in the Outer Rim Nebula, the galaxy looked very different. Captain Lisa Monroe stood on the observation deck of Earth's largest orbital station, watching construction crews work on 7 new warships. Each vessel represented another step forward in human military technology, incorporating lessons learned from 2 major battles and dozens of smaller engagements. The USS Defiant floated nearby, undergoing a complete overhaul. New armor plating covered its hull. Upgraded sensors bristled from its bow. Most importantly, engineers were installing a second kinetic cannon, giving the small ship the ability to fire twice before needing to recharge. The original prototype was becoming a battle-tested veteran. Impressive sight, is it not? Said a voice behind her. Lisa turned to see Ambassador Daniel Carter walking across the deck. He looked tired but satisfied. The past year had been busy for both of them, negotiating treaties and trade agreements while establishing humanity's place in galactic politics. Very impressive, Lisa agreed. When I was growing up, space travel was still experimental. Now we are building a fleet that makes the old powers nervous. Daniel joined her at the window. Nervous is good. It means they take us seriously. The Council just approved funding for a joint training facility where human and alien forces can practice combined operations. 6 years ago, they would not even return our messages. Now they want to learn from us. How are the technology negotiations going? Lisa asked. Slowly, Daniel admitted. Everyone wants our kinetic weapons technology. We have made it clear that is not for sale at any price. However, we are trading other things. The Grenadi are sharing their advanced materials science. The Makal are teaching us their faster-than-light drive improvements. The Draknari are opening their military academies to human officers. We are getting good value without giving away our primary advantage. Lisa nodded. Earth's leadership had decided early that kinetic weapons would remain exclusively human technology. Other species could speculate and try to reverse engineer the concept. But without access to the specific technical details, it would take them years or decades to develop equivalent systems. Captain Monroe, Ambassador Carter, please report to Conference Room 7. A voice announced over the station's communication system. Admiral Price is ready to begin the briefing. They walked through the station's corridors together, passing crew members from a dozen different alien species. The orbital station had become a hub for mixed species operations, with humans working alongside Krenathi engineers, Draknari military advisors, and Makal diplomats. A year ago, this level of cooperation would have been impossible. Conference Room 7 held 20 people when Lisa and Daniel entered. Admiral Price sat at the head of the table. Commander Jake Morrison was there, along with several other ship captains. Various alien military representatives occupied the other seats, including Admiral Corvin of the Draknari. Thank you all for coming, Admiral Price began. We have a situation developing in the Zeta sector that requires immediate attention. 3 weeks ago, a species called the Jalvex Combine attacked and conquered the Meridian system. This system is home to approximately 2 billion civilians from various council member species. A holographic star map appeared above the table, showing the location of the Meridian system and surrounding territories. The strategic importance was obvious. It sat at the intersection of 3 major trade routes. The Jalvex Combine is not a council member, Admiral Corvin explained, his deep voice filling the room. They are an aggressive military power that has been expanding steadily for the past 50 years. We have fought several border skirmishes with them, always resulting in stalemate. They possess extremely advanced shield technology and heavy armor. Their ships are difficult to destroy with conventional weapons. But not with kinetic weapons, Jake Morrison said. Precisely, Corvin agreed. The Council is assembling a task force to liberate the Meridian system. 7 battle groups, nearly 500 ships. However, the Jalvex fleet defending the system numbers around 300 vessels, and they are dug in around the planet in defensive positions. A direct assault would result in massive casualties on both sides. Admiral Price leaned forward. The Council has requested that Earth contribute ships to this operation. Specifically, they want kinetic weapons to break through the Jalvex defensive positions quickly, minimizing civilian casualties and reducing the length of the battle. Lisa studied the holographic display. The Jalvex had positioned their ships in overlapping defensive spheres around the planet, creating multiple layers of protection. Any attacking force would have to fight through each layer, taking losses at every stage. It was a solid defensive strategy against conventional weapons. Against kinetic weapons, it was a death trap. Each defensive layer would become a shooting gallery. How many ships is Earth contributing? Lisa asked. 6 vessels, Admiral Price replied. The Defiant, Liberty, and 4 of the new Warrior-class ships. Captain Monroe, you will command the human squadron. Your mission is to create breaches in the Jalvex defensive lines that Council forces can exploit. Lisa felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. 6 ships against 300 sounded impossible. But she had faced 16 Vrath Raiders alone and won. She had helped destroy over 200 Korthax ships with just 2 vessels. 6 ships would be enough. When do we depart? She asked. Tomorrow morning. The Council fleet is already assembling at the staging point. We need to coordinate our attack plans during the journey. The briefing continued for 2 more hours, covering logistics, communication protocols, and tactical details. When it finally ended, Lisa found herself walking back to the observation deck with Jake Morrison. 6 ships, Jake said quietly, against 300 Jalvex vessels and whatever planetary defenses they have set up. This is going to be our biggest challenge yet. We have faced worse odds, Lisa replied, have we? At the Outer Rim, you had 1 ship against 16 raiders. At Sarkany, we had 2 ships, but the Council had 300 more backing us up. This time, we are the primary strike force. If we fail, 500 Council ships will have to fight through prepared defenses and take heavy casualties. Lisa stopped and turned to face him. Jake, do you remember what you told me after the Vrath battle? You said the galaxy had no idea what humanity could do. You were right then, and it is still true now. The Jalvex have advanced shields and heavy armor. They think that makes them safe. but they have never faced kinetic weapons. Their defenses are designed for energy weapons and missiles. We are going to go through them like they are not even there. Jake smiled slightly. When you say it like that, 300 ships does not sound so bad. That is because it is not bad. It is target-rich environment. The journey to the staging point took 3 days. During that time, Lisa worked with the other human ship captains to develop detailed attack plans. The 6 ships would operate as 3 pairs, each pair targeting different sections of the Jalvex defensive lines. Coordinated strikes would create multiple breaches simultaneously, preventing the Jalvex from concentrating their forces to close any single gap. When the human squadron arrived at the staging point, they found an impressive sight. Nearly 500 Council warships filled the space around the designated coordinates. Massive Krenathi dreadnoughts, sleek Mikal cruisers, heavily armored Draknari battleships, and dozens of other vessel types from across Council space. It was the largest military operation the Council had mounted in 50 years. Admiral Corvin commanded the overall fleet from his flagship, the Relentless. He called a meeting of all senior officers to review the battle plan. Lisa attended via holographic link from the Defiant. The operation will proceed in 3 phases, Corvin explained as tactical displays showed the plan. Phase 1. The human squadron will strike the Jalvex defensive positions, creating breaches in their lines. Phase 2. Council fast attack wings will exploit these breaches and engage Jalvex ships at close range. Phase 3. The main battle fleet will advance and establish orbital control around the planet. A Krenathi admiral raised a concern. Admiral Corvin, this plan relies heavily on the human ships successfully creating those initial breaches. What if their weapons are not as effective against Jalvex shields and armor? Before Corvin could respond, Lisa spoke up. Admiral, the Jalvex shields are impressive by galactic standards. They can absorb and dissipate huge amounts of energy from beam weapons. They can even withstand multiple missile strikes. But a solid object moving at 1/3 the speed of light does not care about their shields. The kinetic energy transfer will overwhelm any defensive system they possess. You seem very confident. Captain Monroe, the Krenathi admiral said. I am confident because the physics are on our side, Lisa replied. Energy shields work by spreading incoming energy across a wide area, reducing the impact at any single point. Kinetic weapons concentrate all their energy at one specific point. The shield cannot spread that impact effectively. It will fail instantly. Corvin made a rumbling sound of approval. Captain Monroe is correct. We have run extensive simulations using known data about Jalvex defensive systems. Kinetic weapons will penetrate their defenses with near certainty. The real challenge is ensuring we exploit the breaches quickly before the Jalvex can.